Welcome to What Matters Most.
We are dedicated to educating the community about holistic, metaphysical, and spiritual topics.
Each week, we discuss things that matter most in life, the things that are most important to you that may have fallen to the wayside.
We are always centered on the idea of simplifying life, connecting with our neighbors, and following our true paths.
Our mission is to empower you to live the life that you've always dreamed of living.
We invite you to focus your life on what matters most. And we're back with What Matters Most. We're here with Charis Brown Malloy. Now, Maria was just asking, are there aliens that are extraterrestrials that are walking around that look just like humans and we don't even know that they're here?
You mean like walking around on the sidewalk?
Right.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
are they a part
amongst
of
us?
part of the community and we don't even know it?
I don't know. I've heard some people say that yes, absolutely, so-and-so political figure is a reptilian and this other person is a whatever. I don't know. I can't say that definitively one way or the other with any type of authority, but I do think that if they wanted to, they could.
But they're probably, because I've heard of things where extraterrestrials are actually here on the planet. Whether they look like humans or not, I've heard they're living under the crust. They're here. You see flying saucers come out of the water, over in the ocean.
That definitely happens. Yeah, there's stuff going on under the surface of the earth. I'm of the opinion, and I just kind of touched on it in the book. I didn't really go into detail because I think that'll eventually be a whole other volume all on its own. But I'm of the opinion that our world's actually hollow. We used to think it was flat, and now we know that it's round. Well, I think that's just kind of another step in the process. Wow. There's actually lots of things going on under the crust. And we've only ever drilled 12 miles down. Oh, and according to this theory, the crust is 800 miles thick.
Oh, my God.
So all of the research that we've done doesn't discount this theory either. Yeah. And it's an old theory. But anyway, about aliens just walking around by us, I don't know. I think that it's totally possible. I think that, I don't know, I've never met one. No one's never come up to me and shaken my hand and said, hi, I'm so-and-so from so-and-so. But that has happened to some people. Yeah. But as far as whether or not they're here all the time, I know that sometimes they'll come down and kind of have an interaction and go back up and wherever they go. But as far as them living here, brushing their teeth, showering every day, that kind of stuff, I don't know.
Yeah, and so what would you say their purpose is for being here?
Oh, there's a whole little explanation for that might take too long, so cut me off if I go over. But this is the deal as I understand it. And my knowledge is always growing. So next week I might be saying there's even more to it than I thought before, which ends up happening.
Sure.
But as far as I can tell, and as far as I've been told, and it seems to make sense to me, humans on this planet, if you just look around, we don't act like this is our home. We don't treat the planet like we're from here.
Of course.
And Gaia, or the Earth,
yes,
she's alive. She's a living entity. I mean, how could she not be? When we talk about the air streams going around the planet and currents in the ocean, what moves that? It's not just energy just kind of sort of moving all on its own from checks and balances. She's alive and she's living, and the air is her breath. She breathes in, things go up. She breathes out, they go down. All these type stuff happens. Anyway, so humanoid creatures like us, like other humanoid type ETs that people see, either that look human or the Greys or some of them, the reptilians or even some of them. As far as I understand it, the easiest way to explain it is that we move from planet to planet like a virus, kind of. But the planets agree to do this. Oh. And they'll come down, and this is on the zoomed out scale, because you can also zoom in and say, okay, well, there were these dramas when humankind was first created, and this type of ET was kind of battling this type of ET, and they wanted to use humans for this purpose, and da-da-da. And all of that stuff is true, too. It's just zoomed in from another level. So if you zoom out, what's actually happening is all of those little dramas are happening to then create the specific type of being that is spreading through the universe. And what type of being that it is that's spreading is a creative, divine, humanish type being. And the reason that we haven't been able to go farther in the universe in our own explorations is because we haven't yet reached the vibratory level in our knowledge that will allow the knowledge of how to understand space travel, because we still fight a lot. And so we don't resonate at a good enough frequency to be able to kind of get out. People talk about Earth quarantine, and I think that that's true, but I don't think it's so much someone standing there with, you know, a sword not letting us by. I think it's a vibratory thing. So we're not from here originally, but we kind of are. Earth is our mother, so we have pieces of her and we have pieces of star people, which is a lot of what they're called throughout different cultures.
And the aliens are trying to help us in that journey of getting us to a higher level of awareness, or
not all. The ones that I talk to are, and the ones that a lot of contactees talk to are, you can kind of tell some of them are manipulative, they like control, they like, I don't deal with any of those guys, but I know that they exist. Those are not the ones who are out for human ascension. Human ascension is when we get to the point that we are actually capital H humans, what we're supposed to be. And the ones that are out for human ascension want to do it because apparently the way it's been explained to me is once you get to a point where you really, really know that you're a divine being, as we all are supposed to be, you know, God's children. We are all God's children. We were always supposed to grow up. And what is a God's child that's grown up? It's a divine being all on its own. So once you realize that you're linked with everything that is, and there's no lack and no limitation anywhere, once you actually know that, everything gets kind of boring as far as egoic pursuits. So the only fun thing there is to do anymore is to help others reach ascension.
Sure.
So then they come, and apparently now Earth is very exciting because humans are kind of going through this big thing and all this stuff is happening on Earth. So there are a lot of extraterrestrial species kind of interested in what's going on just because it's interesting, and this doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, is that are there other planets kind of almost watching over Earth, almost as if we were children, kind of helping and almost watching, like almost as, not as if we're on TV, but kind of monitoring to see what's going to happen?
Yeah, I think so. From what I've been told, yeah, and it's because, you know, we came from somewhere, and we're a mixture of a few different types of ET, as far as I know. I don't know exactly how many, and I don't know exactly who they are, but from what I understand, they helped create us, and so we are quite literally their children in some ways. And some are here that might not have helped create us, but they're out for the ascension because, you know how they say entropy and reverse entropy. You know, there's chaos and there's the opposite of that. Well, reverse entropy kind of begets reverse entropy. And so once you're in a state of grace, if you see somewhere that isn't, you want to go and help it become like that too. And so it's kind of an altruistic, but it's altruistic because it feels good. It's not actually altruistic. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, it helps them because when you, as you well know, when you teach someone else, when you have a child or anyone that you're helping to learn whatever, and they have that epiphany and they get it, it makes you feel really good.
Right, they got it,
That's the best feeling in the world, so that's what they're after.
Gotcha. So, Charis, tell me, I know you said that the extraterrestrial that you communicate with gave you a message for our show. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, actually, I typed it up. It's kind of long, so I'm going to paraphrase.
Absolutely.
But, essentially, what's good?
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry.
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, essentially what I asked him was, what can I say to the people who might be watching? Because I know that some of your watchers might be totally into the stuff and some of them might be kind of on the line. But what they essentially told me, because first I was talking to more than one and then I was talking to the main one. First I was talking to the group. And they said to stress the importance of being present, truly present, wherever you are, not thinking far forward or far back. Sometimes it's necessary, but overall to be present. Emotional control. Most adults are actually walking around throwing temper tantrums on the inside all the time. As humans, we're taught to control what we look like, but not to control what we actually feel. So that's the difference between actually growing up. And these were their words: waking up out of the useless, numbing rhythms of life and realizing the power in each person. They said we're powerful whether or not we want to be powerful. So we might be kind of in denial about it, but we're still powerful people. But while we remain sleeping and hypnotized, that all this power that we're generating all the time is kind of used as slave labor. While our emotions are all at the whim of an image on TV or music on the radio that someone else picked, we're marionettes giving our power to something else, and we're not ascending into what we can be. So that was what the group told me. And then, and they also said there's no fear to be had in the transition into a divine being. It's not any harder to get there than it currently is, because life's currently hard, but the joys are much greater. So it's always worth it.
Wow.
And then I asked the one grade that I speak to, my rhythm teacher, and he said that, he said that, yeah, the guides, the angels, the spirit guides are almost always them. if you have questions, just go ask, call up in your spirit guides and ask them yourself. Dream advice too, often them. They said, well, he said that the magical side of life that people convince themselves is childish or naive, that's the actual true side of life, and that everything else is slave quarters that we had built for us, and then that we keep ourselves in now through long habit. Kind of like when there's an elephant, and as a child, when the elephant is a child, you tie a rope around its leg, and then as it grows, you just keep the rope there, and it's this huge elephant, and it thinks that it can't move because there's this little tiny rope tied around its leg. That's kind of what's happened to us as humans.
Wow.
He said that if you ever doubt the amount of power that you have, just think about when the last time is you lost your temper, the last time is you fell in love. A woman in labor, everyone around her can feel that power, or the power of an orgasm. All of those things are perfect examples of what this power is like, and we can have that all the time if you just learn to control things like your emotions. And then if you want to know what to do, just put out the call. Just decide, I would like to know how to ascend, and then things will come on your own path. Everyone's path is different. But just kind of put out the intention and it'll happen. It'll show itself. And not to fear, because this is the thing about fear, especially when we're talking about extraterrestrials. If you're going to have a negative experience with negative extraterrestrials, if you're scared, it doesn't matter. They're going to come get you anyway. And that's just the truth of it. You know, luckily enough, it hasn't happened to me yet. We'll knock on wood there and hope that it doesn't. But if you're scared, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to have a beneficial interaction with extraterrestrials, and if you're scared, it won't happen, because they won't come if you're scared. So for that reason, fear doesn't do anything. You might as well just toss it out.
Wow. So then what should we do if we want to connect? If we want to connect with extraterrestrials, what do we need to do?
The absolute first thing, and this is my advice, this isn't directly from them, but it's how I understand it to be. The absolute first thing to do would be learn to meditate. It doesn't have to be Zen meditation. It can be any type of meditation that appeals to you. I would tell people to research different types and see what kind of gives them that little heart jump that says, I will like this. Then learn how to regulate your energy field. It's easy. Google the chakras, you know, and then just see which one is. Figure out a way to deal with them. Again, something will come to your path. If you want to do it, you'll just read an article one day that'll make things click for you, and then you'll be able to do it. And then after that, start trying to contact your spirit guides. There are a plethora of ways to do this. Just find one that appeals to you, and then that's probably who they'll be. And then you can ask them.
Yeah. That's wonderful. So, Charis, tell us, what matters most to you on a whole, on what you're doing? What matters most?
What matters most to me is the hope of what can happen once more people wake up. That's kind of what I'm after, because that'll solve everything. If you wake up mothers, you have awakened children. If you wake up children, you have awakening spreading like wildfire, because those children are going to grow up. If you awaken the people in power, it trickles down. If you awaken the people at the bottom, it trickles up. So it's all about just kind of getting out of the sleepwalking mode and remembering that we're in charge of what happens to us.
Wonderful. So I know you have your book, Journal of the Starseed, and we're actually going to be hosting it in our Living Well store. If you'd like to purchase it, you can check it out there. Absolutely. And Charis, how would you like people to contact you?
You can contact me on Facebook. You can also just go to the website at www.journalofastarseed.com, and there are contact places there on the About the Author page. You can send me an email, and there are a bunch of different ways. But I would say Facebook or the website are the easiest and fastest ways.
Perfect.
Great. Well, we want to thank our listeners and viewers at this point for watching and tuning in to Charis and her lovely journey and talking to extraterrestrials and giving us all that wonderful information. And as we close, we'd like to remind everybody that the simple things in life are what matters most.
Namaste.